Hello and welcome to the Velvet Audible Stories. In today's videos, it would be a stories about a hidden kindness coming from a mafia bosses whom everyone feared. If you like these videos, please share your thoughts on the comment sections and subscribe to the channel to receive notifications about new videos. Thank you.
She was dying in the snow, abandoned, forgotten, frozen to the bone on Christmas Eve. No one was coming, no one cared. But then he arrived, Victor Hale, the most dangerous man in Chicago, a killer, a king, and the only person who could save her life. What happened next in that blizzard changed everything, a collision of ice and fire, fear and desire, power and vulnerability. This is their story. Stay until the end to see how a night meant to end in death became the beginning of something fierce, forbidden, and utterly unstoppable. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The cold didn't care who you were. It didn't matter if you were good or bad, rich or poor, loved or forgotten. The cold was merciless. It crept into your bones slowly, methodically, like a predator savoring its kill. And on this Christmas Eve in Chicago, it had chosen Amelia Carter. She lay crumpled against the rusted metal siding of an abandoned warehouse, her body pressed into a snowdrift that had become both her prison and her grave. The blizzard howled around her, wind whipping through the empty lot with a violence that seemed almost personal. Snow buried her legs, her arms, crept into the folds of her thin coat, a coat never meant for this kind of night. Amelia's breath came in shallow, ragged gasps. Each inhale burned. Each exhale grew weaker. She couldn't remember how long she'd been out here. An hour? 2? Time had lost meaning somewhere between the trembling and the numbness. Her fingers were blue beneath the thin fabric of her gloves. Cheap ones, bought on sale because that was all she could afford. Her teeth had stopped chattering 10 minutes ago, which she knew was a bad sign. She'd read somewhere that when you stopped shivering, it meant your body was giving up. Please, she thought, though she didn't know who she was asking. Please, somebody. But nobody was coming. Her coworker, Marcus, the smug bastard who'd driven her out here for the late-night audit, had left without her. She'd stepped out of the car to check the warehouse entrance, to make sure they had the right location for the inventory count. The door had been frozen shut. She'd walked around the side of the building, searching for another way in. And when she came back, the car was gone. No headlights. No engine rumble, just tire tracks disappearing into the storm. She'd called his cell. It went straight to voicemail. She'd tried her supervisor, no answer. The office line? Closed for the holiday. Her phone battery was at 4%. The screen cracked from when she'd dropped it in the snow trying to dial 911 with frozen fingers. Nobody answered. Nobody cared. So here she was, slumped against metal that felt like ice itself, watching the snow bury her alive. This isn't how I'm supposed to die, she thought distantly. Not like this. Not here. Not alone. But the cold had other ideas. Her vision blurred. The warehouse lights across the lot, dim, flickering things, seemed to dance and multiply. Her heartbeat sounded strange in her ears, slow and thick like honey. She thought about her sister, Emma. Sweet, fragile Emma with her bright smile and her failing kidneys. Emma, who was counting on her, who needed her. I'm sorry, Amelia whispered into the storm, though no sound came out. The snow kept falling, and then headlights, bright, blinding, cutting through the blizzard like twin suns. Amelia's eyes struggled to focus. A vehicle was tearing through the lot, moving fast, too fast for the conditions. Snow sprayed up from its tires in massive plumes. The engine roared, angry and powerful. It skidded to a stop 20 feet away. A door slammed. Footsteps crunched through snow. Amelia tried to lift her head, but her body wouldn't respond. She managed to shift her eyes, just barely, enough to see a figure moving toward her through the white curtain of falling snow. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with purpose. Jesus Christ, a voice growled, deep, rough, laced with fury and something else, something that sounded almost like fear. Strong hands gripped her shoulders, lifted her. She felt herself being pulled from the snowdrift, her frozen body limp as a rag doll. Stay with me, the voice commanded. Do you hear me? Stay with me. She forced her eyes open wider and found herself staring into the face of Victor Hale. Even through the haze of hypothermia, she recognized him. Everyone in Chicago knew that face. Sharp jawline shadowed with stubble, dark eyes like polished obsidian, cold and calculating. Black hair pushed back from a face that belonged on old Roman coins, all brutal elegance and ruthless power. Victor Hale, owner of half the city's legitimate businesses and all of its illegitimate ones. The man politicians feared. The man rivals didn't cross twice. The king of Chicago's underworld. And he was here, holding her. "I've got you," he said, his voice low and fierce. "I've got you." She tried to speak, but her lips wouldn't move. Everything felt distant, muffled, like she was underwater. Victor swore viciously and swept her into his arms, cradling her against his chest as he turned back toward the vehicle. A black SUV, expensive and gleaming despite the storm. His coat wrapped around her, heavy and warm and smelling of cedar and something darker, smokier. Whiskey, maybe. Or gunpowder. The world tilted, spun, went dark around the edges. "No," Victor snapped, his voice cutting through the fog. "Don't you dare! Eyes on me, Amelia, right now." Her name. He knew her name. His arms tightened around her as he wrenched open the SUV's back door and climbed inside with her still pressed against him. Heat blasted from the vents, almost painful against her frozen skin. "Drive," Victor barked. "My house, now. And I don't care if you have to plow through every goddamn snowdrift between here and the Gold Coast. Move." The vehicle lurched forward. Victor shifted her in his arms, positioning her across his lap, his hands moving with surprising gentleness as he began stripping off her wet gloves. His fingers were warm, so warm, against her frozen skin. "You're going to be all right," he said, and it wasn't a comfort, it was a command, an order that reality itself would obey because Victor Hale had spoken it. "Do you understand me? You're going to be fine." Amelia's vision swam. She could feel his hands on her face now, cupping her cheeks, tilting her head up. "Look at me," he demanded. She did. His eyes weren't cold anymore, they were blazing. "That's it," he murmured. "Stay here. Stay with me." "Why?" The word came out as barely a whisper, her throat raw. "Why are you—" "Because you're mine to protect," he said simply, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "And I take care of what's mine." She didn't understand, couldn't understand. She was nobody. An accountant in his finance department, one of hundreds of employees whose names he shouldn't know, whose existence he shouldn't notice. But the way he was looking at her said otherwise. The way he held her said otherwise. His hands moved to her coat, unzipping it with quick, efficient movements. "This needs to come off. It's soaked through." I'm fine," she managed, though she was clearly not fine. Her whole body was shaking now, violent tremors that made her teeth rattle. "You're hypothermic," Victor corrected flatly. He peeled the wet coat away and tossed it aside, then shrugged out of his own, a long black wool overcoat that probably cost more than her monthly rent. He wrapped it around her shoulders, cocooning her in warmth and that intoxicating scent of cedar and smoke. Then he pulled her back against his chest, his arms banding around her, sharing his body heat. Amelia's mind spun. This couldn't be real. Victor Hale didn't rescue abandoned employees. He didn't hold them in the back of his SUV, didn't press his cheek against their frozen hair, didn't murmur reassurances in a voice gone rough with concern. And yet, "How did you—" she started. "I have access to the company's security feeds," he said curtly. "I saw you get in Marcus Reeves's car for the warehouse audit. I saw him leave you there." Something dark crossed his face, something that made Amelia's breath catch, despite the cold still clinging to her bones. "He's gonna wish he'd died in that storm instead of leaving you in it," Victor continued, his voice dropping to something lethal. "But that's not your concern right now. Right now, you focus on warming up. Understood?" She nodded weakly against his chest. The SUV plowed through the storm, the city lights blurring past the tinted windows. Victor's driver, a broad-shouldered man with military precision in his movements, navigated the treacherous roads with focused intensity. Victor's hands moved to Amelia's, rubbing them between his palms with firm, measured strokes. Can you feel this? Yes, she managed. Good. That's good. He brought her hands to his mouth and breathed warm air over her frozen fingers. The gesture was so unexpectedly intimate that Amelia's heart stuttered. Why do you care? The question slipped out before she could stop it. Victor's eyes lifted to hers. For a long moment, he didn't answer. The only sounds were the rumble of the engine, the whisper of heated air from the vents, and the muffled howl of wind outside. Then, because I've watched you for 2 years, Amelia Carter, every day you walk into that office building with your head high, despite everything you're carrying. Every day you work harder than anyone else in that department. Every day you show a kind of integrity that's rarer than diamonds in my world. Her breath caught. I know about your sister, he continued quietly. I know about the medical bills. I know about the second job you took last month because the treatment costs went up. I know about the promotion you were passed over for, even though you deserved it more than anyone else. How I make it my business to know things. His thumb brushed across her knuckles. Especially when it comes to people who interest me. I'm just an accountant. You're not just anything. His voice hardened. And the fact that you think you are tells me exactly how little you've been valued, how little you've been seen. The SUV turned sharply, and Amelia caught a glimpse of wrought iron gates swinging open, a long driveway lined with snow-covered trees. We're here, Victor said. My home. You'll stay until you're recovered. No arguments. I need to. You need to do exactly what I tell you, he interrupted, his tone brooking no disagreement. Which is to let me take care of you. Can you do that? The question hung in the heated air between them. Amelia looked up at him, really looked, saw the hard lines of his face softened by something she couldn't name, saw the way his jaw clenched when her body shivered, saw the careful control in his hands as they held her, firm enough to keep her safe, but gentle enough not to hurt. This was a man who commanded an empire built on fear, and he was holding her like she was something precious. Okay, she whispered. Something flashed in his eyes. Relief? Satisfaction? Both? The SUV stopped. Victor's driver opened the door, letting in a blast of cold air that made Amelia flinch. Victor immediately shifted, using his body to shield her from the wind as he climbed out with her still cradled in his arms. Sir, should I call Dr. Chen? The driver asked. Already done, Victor replied, striding toward massive double doors that swung open as they approached. He'll be here within 20 minutes. They stepped into warmth, blessed, overwhelming warmth. Amelia had a vague impression of soaring ceilings, marble floors, art that probably belonged in museums. But mostly she was aware of Victor's arms around her, his heartbeat steady beneath her ear, his scent surrounding her. He carried her up a sweeping staircase, down a wide hallway, and into a bedroom that was larger than her entire apartment. A fireplace roared in one corner, throwing dancing light across plush carpet and elegant furniture. Victor set her carefully on the edge of a massive bed and immediately crouched in front of her, his hands going to her boots. These need to come off, he said, already unlacing them with quick efficiency. Your socks are soaked through. Amelia watched in a daze as Victor Hale, feared Mafia boss, ruthless businessman, king of the criminal underworld, gently removed her wet boots and peeled away her frozen socks. His hands were steady, sure, but achingly careful. When her feet were bare, he wrapped them in his palms, warming them. Better? He asked, glancing up at her. She could only nod. He rose and moved to a dresser, returning with what looked like cashmere socks, thick, soft, expensive. He slid them onto her feet with the kind of focus most men reserved for far less innocent activities. Your clothes are still wet, he said, straightening. You need to change. Heat flooded her cheeks despite the lingering cold in her limbs. I'll get you something. He was already moving toward another door. A walk-in closet, she realized. He emerged moments later with a black silk robe. This will work until we can get your clothes dried. He set the robe on the bed beside her, then turned his back. I'll give you privacy. There's a bathroom through that door if you need it. Call me when you're done. The consideration in the gesture made her throat tight. Amelia's fingers fumbled with her clothes, clumsy from the cold and shock. It took 3 tries to unbutton her blouse. Her pants were harder, the denim stiff and damp, clinging to her legs. But eventually she managed to strip down to her underwear and slip into the robe. It was too large, swallowing her frame, but it was warm and soft and smelled like him. "Okay," she called softly. Victor turned. His eyes swept over her, thorough and assessing, but not predatory. "Sit by the fire. You need more heat." He guided her to a leather armchair positioned near the fireplace and wrapped a thick blanket around her shoulders. Then he poured something from a crystal decanter on a nearby table, amber liquid that caught the firelight. "Brandy," he said, pressing the glass into her hands. "Small sips. It'll help warm you from the inside." The liquor burned going down, but it was a good burn, a warm burn. Amelia took another careful sip and felt heat bloom in her chest. Victor pulled another chair close enough that their knees almost touched, and sat. He leaned forward, elbows on his thighs, watching her with an intensity that should have been uncomfortable but somehow wasn't. "Tell me," he said quietly, "did Marcus Reeves leave you there deliberately?" Amelia's hands tightened around the glass. "I don't know. Maybe he just forgot." "Don't make excuses for him." Victor's voice went hard. "Did he know you were outside the car?" She swallowed. "Yes, I told him I was checking the other entrance." "And he left anyway." "The snow was coming down hard. Maybe he didn't see—" "Amelia." Victor reached out and cupped her chin, tilting her face up to his. "Stop protecting him. What he did was criminal negligence at best. At worst—" His jaw clenched. "At worst, it was attempted murder." The words hung in the air like smoke. "He wouldn't—" she started. "You almost died." Each word was bitten off, sharp as broken glass. "You were alone in a blizzard, freezing to death, and he drove away. There's no innocent explanation for that." Amelia's throat worked. "What are you going to do to him?" Victor's smile was cold. "What I do to anyone who endangers what's mine." That word again. Mine. "I'm not—" "Yes, you are." He said it with absolute certainty. "You've been mine since the day I saw you tear apart Henderson's fraudulent expense reports with nothing but a calculator and sheer determination. You've been mine since you stood up in that quarterly meeting and told the CFO his projections were off by $3 million, and you were right. You've been mine since you walked into my world and refused to compromise who you are to fit into it." Amelia's heart hammered against her ribs. "You've been watching me." "Yes." "For 2 years." "Yes." "That's—" She didn't know what it was. Stalking? Obsessive? Terrifying? Or maybe, whispered a traitorous part of her mind, the most thrilling thing anyone had ever done. Because the truth, the dangerous, complicated truth, was that she'd noticed him too. Of course she had. Everyone noticed Victor Hale, but for Amelia, it had been more than just his obvious power and dark charisma. It had been the way he moved through the office like a predator among sheep, the way his voice could silence a room, the way he'd once stopped mid-meeting to compliment her analysis of a merger deal, his dark eyes holding hers for 3 seconds too long. She'd told herself it was nothing, a fleeting moment, a professional acknowledgement, but late at night, alone in her apartment, she'd thought about those 3 seconds more times than she wanted to admit. "I know what you're thinking," Victor said, his thumb brushing along her jawline. "You're thinking this is crazy, that I'm dangerous, that you should run." "Should I?" The question came out breathless. "Probably." His honesty startled her. "I'm not a good man, Amelia. I've done things that would make you sick. I've hurt people. I've killed—" He stopped, but the implication hung heavy between them. "The world I live in is dark, brutal. It's not fairy tales and happy endings." "Then why tell me any of this?" "Because I'm done pretending." He leaned closer, close enough that she could see flecks of gold in his dark eyes. "I'm done watching from a distance. I'm done convincing myself that staying away from you is the right thing to do. Tonight, when I saw that security feed, when I realized you were out there alone—" His control cracked, just for a second, and something raw and terrible flashed across his face. "I've never moved so fast in my life. I've never been so afraid." Afraid? She couldn't imagine this man afraid of anything. "Terrified," he corrected. "Because the thought of losing you, of being too late—" He broke off, shaking his head. "It made me realize that I'm already in too deep, that I've been in too deep for a long time." A knock sounded at the door, breaking the moment. "Dr. Chen is here, sir," came a voice from the hallway. Victor's mask slammed back into place. The cold, controlled expression he wore like armor, but his hand lingered on her face for one more heartbeat before he pulled away. "Come in," he called. The door opened to admit an older man carrying a medical bag. He had kind eyes and steady hands, and he didn't blink at finding his notorious patient in a silk robe by the fire. "Miss Carter," Dr. Chen said pleasantly. "Let's make sure you're all right, shall we?" Victor stood, but didn't move far. He positioned himself against the fireplace mantel, arms crossed, watching like a sentinel as Dr. Chen conducted his examination. The doctor checked her temperature, her pulse, her reflexes. He examined her fingers and toes for frostbite, listened to her lungs, asked questions about numbness and pain. "You're very lucky," he said finally. "Another hour out there and we'd be having a very different conversation. As it is, you'll make a full recovery. Keep warm, drink plenty of fluids, and rest. The shivering will continue for a while as your body temperature normalizes. That's normal. If you experience any dizziness, confusion, or extreme fatigue, call me immediately." He stood and addressed Victor. "She'll be fine. But she shouldn't be alone tonight. Someone should check on her every few hours." "I'll handle it," Victor said immediately. Dr. Chen nodded, unsurprised. He packed his bag and headed for the door, then paused. "Take care of yourself, Miss Carter. You've had quite the ordeal." When he was gone, Victor returned to his chair. The fire crackled between them, throwing shadows across his face. "You'll stay here tonight," he said. "Tomorrow too, probably, until Dr. Chen clears you. I should call my sister. She'll worry. Already done. I had my assistant contact her. She knows you're safe." Of course he had, because Victor Hale thought of everything. Amelia pulled the blanket tighter around herself. "I don't understand any of this." "What don't you understand?" "Why you care, why it matters to you if some random accountant lives or dies." "You're not random." He said it with the patience of someone explaining basic mathematics to a child. "You're extraordinary, and you have been since the first day I saw you." "I'm not, Stop." He leaned forward again, capturing her gaze. "Stop diminishing yourself. Stop pretending you're ordinary when you're anything but. I've built an empire on reading people, Amelia, on seeing their true value. And your value?" He shook his head slowly. "Immeasurable." Her breath caught. "You don't know me. I know you work 60-hour weeks and never complain. I know you anonymously donated half your Christmas bonus to the office toy drive. I know you visit your sister 3 times a week, no matter how exhausted you are. I know you turned down a date with Henderson's nephew because you saw through his fake charm in 5 seconds. His mouth quirked. "I also know you take your coffee black with 2 sugars. You have a weakness for old movies, and you've been secretly learning Italian for the past 6 months. Amelia's eyes widened. "How? I pay attention." He reached out and tucked a strand of damp hair behind her ear. "Especially to things, to people that matter. This is insane." "Yes," he agreed. "Probably. You're a criminal." "Yes. You've probably done terrible things." "Definitely. I should be terrified of you. Are you?" She looked at him. Really looked. At the sharp intelligence in his eyes, at the careful control in his movements, at the way he'd held her in the storm, the way he'd carried her to safety, the way he was watching her now like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. "No," she whispered. "I'm not." Something blazed to life in his expression. "You should be." "Maybe, but I'm not." Victor stood abruptly and moved to the window, staring out at the storm still raging beyond the glass. Snow pelted the panes, wind howled, the world outside was white and wild and merciless. "I can't offer you a normal life," he said, his voice low. "I can't promise you safety or simplicity or any of the things you deserve. What I can offer you is honesty, protection, and—" He turned back to face her. "Everything I am, everything I have, if you want it." But Amelia's hands trembled around the brandy glass. "You're asking me to choose." "I'm asking you to consider it." He crossed back to her, then did something that stole her breath. He knelt. Victor Hale, who knelt for no one, dropped to his knees in front of her chair. "I'm not asking for an answer tonight. You've been through hell. You're in shock. But I need you to know what I'm offering, what I'm willing to give, which is everything. His hands settled on her knees, warm through the blanket. My protection, my resources, my time, my... He seemed to struggle with the next word. My heart, such as it is. I want you in my life, Amelia, not as an employee, not as a temporary distraction, as mine, fully, completely. The words should have terrified her. They were too much, too fast, too intense. But the thing was, she'd felt the pull too. That magnetic awareness every time he walked past her desk. That flutter in her chest when his voice came over the conference call speakers. That dangerous curiosity about what it would be like to step into his orbit. She'd just never let herself acknowledge it. Until now. I need time, she said carefully. You have it. And honesty. If we're doing this, whatever this is, I need complete honesty. You'll have it. Even the dark parts? Especially the dark parts. His grip tightened fractionally. I won't hide what I am from you, Amelia. That would be an insult to both of us. She studied his face, looking for deception, for manipulation, for any sign that this was a game. She found none of those things. What she found was raw, burning sincerity, and something that might have been hope. Okay, she said softly. His eyes flashed. Okay, you'll think about it? Or okay, I'll think about it, really think about it, not just dismiss it because it's crazy. A slow smile curved his mouth, the first real smile she'd seen from him. It transformed his face, softening the brutal edges into something dangerously beautiful. That's all I'm asking. He rose and held out his hand. Come on, you need rest. Amelia let him help her to her feet, the world tilting slightly as blood rushed to her head. Victor's arm immediately wrapped around her waist, steadying her. Easy, he murmured. He guided her to the bed, that massive, criminally comfortable bed, and pulled back the covers. I'll be in the room across the hall, he said. If you need anything, anything at all, you call for me. Understood? She nodded. He hesitated, then leaned down and pressed a kiss to her forehead. The gesture was so unexpectedly tender that Amelia's eyes burned. Sleep, he commanded softly. You're safe here. And somehow, impossibly, she believed him. Victor dimmed the lights and moved toward the door. Victor? She called. He turned. Thank you for saving me. His jaw tightened. Thank me by never being in that situation again. Then he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him. Amelia burrowed into the blankets, her body finally warming, her mind spinning with everything that had happened. Outside, the storm continued its assault on the city. But here, cocooned in warmth and safety, she let herself drift. Her last thought before sleep claimed her was of dark eyes and dangerous promises, and the terrifying, exhilarating realization that she wanted to say yes. Damn! Amelia woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and the disorienting sensation of silk sheets against her skin. For a moment, she couldn't place where she was. The room was too large, too elegant, the bed too soft. Then memory crashed back in vivid fragments, the blizzard, the cold, Victor's face emerging from the snow like something conjured from fever dreams. Victor. She sat up slowly, her body protesting with a chorus of aches. Her muscles felt like they'd been wrung out and left to dry. But she was warm, gloriously, wonderfully warm. The fire had burned down to glowing embers, but heat still radiated from vents hidden somewhere in the walls. A glance at the nightstand revealed a glass of water, 2 pills, and a note in bold masculine handwriting. For the pain, take them. V. She downed the medication and the water, then noticed her clothes, her actual clothes from yesterday, folded neatly on a chair by the window. They'd been cleaned and dried, the fabric soft and smelling faintly of lavender. Her boots sat beside the chair, polished to a shine they'd never possessed when she bought them second-hand. Someone had come in while she slept, had taken care of everything, had anticipated her needs before she even woke. The efficiency of it should have felt invasive. Instead, it felt like being seen. Amelia dressed slowly, her fingers still slightly stiff. When she was done, she moved to the window and pulled back the heavy curtains. The storm had passed, leaving Chicago buried under nearly 2 feet of pristine white snow. The sun glittered off the drifts, almost painfully bright. From this vantage point, she must be on the third floor, she could see the sprawling grounds of Victor's estate. Manicured gardens now transformed into a winter wonderland, a frozen fountain, tall gates marking the perimeter. A knock sounded at the door. "Come in," she called, half expecting Victor. Instead, a woman in her 50s entered, her silver hair pulled back in an elegant bun, her expression warm but professional. "Good morning, Miss Carter. I'm Eleanor, Mr. Hale's housekeeper. I trust you slept well?" Yes, thank you." "Excellent. Mr. Hale asked me to inform you that breakfast is ready whenever you'd like to come down. He's in the dining room." Eleanor's eyes swept over Amelia with the assessing gaze of someone who'd spent decades reading people. "How are you feeling? Dr. Chen left instructions for your care." "Better, sore, but better." "That's to be expected. The body doesn't forgive cold easily." Eleanor moved to the bed and began smoothing the already perfect covers. "Mr. Hale was up every 2 hours checking on you last night. I haven't seen him that concerned since—" She stopped herself, then smiled. "Well, it's good to see him caring about something other than business for a change." The revelation sent warmth flooding through Amelia's chest. Victor had checked on her, multiple times, had watched her sleep to make sure she was all right. "I should go down," Amelia said. "Of course. I'll show you the way. This house can be a maze if you're not familiar with it." Eleanor led her through hallways that belonged in architectural magazines. Soaring ceilings, art that was definitely not reproduction, floors polished to mirror brightness. They descended the grand staircase Amelia vaguely remembered from last night, then crossed a foyer dominated by a massive chandelier that threw rainbow prisms across white marble. The dining room was all windows and winter light. A table that could seat 20 held settings for two at one end, intimate despite the room's scale. Silver chafing dishes lined a sideboard, steam rising from their edges. And there, standing by the windows with a cup of coffee in hand, was Victor. He'd changed from last night's clothes into dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. His hair was slightly damp, like he'd recently showered. When he turned at her entrance, his eyes swept over her with the same thorough assessment Dr. Chen had performed, cataloging her condition in seconds. "You're up," he said. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a truck made of ice." His mouth quirked. "That's accurate." He set down his coffee and moved to pull out a chair for her. "Sit. Eat. You need to rebuild your strength." The gesture, so old-fashioned, so courtly, made something flutter in her stomach. Amelia sat, hyper-aware of his proximity as he pushed the chair in behind her. "Coffee? Tea?" he asked. "Coffee, please. Black with 2 sugars, I know." Of course he did. Victor poured her coffee from a silver carafe, added exactly 2 sugar cubes, and set the cup beside her plate with the precision of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. Then he moved to the sideboard and began filling a plate. "I can serve myself," Amelia protested. "You can," he agreed, returning with a plate loaded with scrambled eggs, bacon, fresh fruit, and toast. "But you won't. You'll take half of what you need because you're used to rationing, to making do with less." He set the plate in front of her, then claimed the chair to her right, close enough to reach her if needed, far enough to give her space. "Eat," he commanded. Amelia picked up her fork, suddenly ravenous. The eggs were perfect, fluffy and seasoned with herbs she couldn't name. The bacon was crispy without being burnt. The fruit was fresh and sweet, impossible to find this time of year unless you had Victor's resources. They ate in silence for a few minutes, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt almost domestic, like they'd done this 100 times before. "What day is it?" Amelia asked finally. "Christmas Day." She'd lost time, had slept through the night and most of the morning. "My sister is fine. I spoke with her myself this morning. Told her you were recovering from a minor accident and would call her later." Victor's eyes held hers. "I didn't tell her the truth. I didn't think you'd want her worried." Relief flooded through her. Emma's health was fragile enough without adding stress. "Thank you. She seems very sweet." "She is." Amelia's throat tightened. "She's the best person I know." High praise. "She deserves it. Despite everything, the dialysis, the transplant list, all of it, she's still positive, still hopeful. Amelia looked down at her plate. I don't know how she does it. The same way you do. Victor's voice was quiet. She's stronger than she looks, stronger than anyone gives her credit for. The comparison made Amelia's chest ache. Is that what you think? That I'm strong? I think you're a survivor. There's a difference between strength and survival, but you manage both. He leaned back in his chair, coffee cup cradled in one hand. Tell me about her, your sister. So Amelia did. She talked about Emma's love of terrible romance novels and old musicals, about how she'd taught herself to paint during her hospital stays, creating bright, cheerful watercolors that she donated to the children's ward, about her terrible sense of humor and her tendency to make friends with every nurse and doctor who treated her. Victor listened with complete focus, asking questions that showed he was truly paying attention. And somewhere in the middle of describing Emma's latest obsession with learning to knit, Amelia realized she was relaxed. More relaxed than she'd been in months, maybe years. She sounds remarkable, Victor said when Amelia finally wound down. I'd like to meet her, when you're ready. The casual statement held weight. Meeting family was significant. It meant intention, future planning. Maybe, Amelia said carefully, if this, whatever this is, becomes something. It's already something. Victor set down his cup with deliberate precision. The question is whether you're willing to let it become more. There it was. The elephant in the room, dressed up in dangerous charm and dark promises. Amelia pushed her plate away and met his gaze directly. You said you'd give me honesty, all of it, even the dark parts. I did. Then tell me, what exactly do you do, Victor? What is your world really like? His expression didn't change, but something shuddered behind his eyes. Are you sure you want to know? I can't make an informed decision without information, and I'm not naive enough to pretend I don't already suspect. She kept her voice steady. You run more than legitimate businesses, don't you? Yes. What else? Victor rose and moved to the windows, his back to her. For a long moment he was silent. Then, I control most of the underground economy in Chicago. Gambling, loans, certain imports that don't go through official channels. I have investments in construction companies that win city contracts they shouldn't. I own politicians, judges, police captains. I broker deals between people who can't meet in daylight. His voice was matter-of-fact, almost clinical, like he was reading a grocery list instead of confessing to crimes. I've hurt people, he continued, sometimes because they posed a threat, sometimes to send a message. I've made decisions that ruined lives, ended lives. He turned to face her, his expression unreadable. I'm telling you this because you need to understand what you'd be stepping into. This isn't white-collar crime that happens in boardrooms. This is blood and consequences and moral compromises you can't take back. Amelia's heart hammered, but she kept her hands steady on the table. Have you killed people? Yes. No hesitation, no justification, just truth. How many? Enough that I stopped counting. His jaw tightened. Does that frighten you? It should. But does it? She examined her own feelings, surprised to find them more complex than simple fear. I don't know. Part of me is horrified. Part of me thinks I should run out that door and never look back. And the other part? Amelia stood and crossed to him, stopping a few feet away. The other part remembers that you saved my life, that you could have left me in that storm, but you didn't, that you've been nothing but careful with me, even though you could probably take whatever you wanted. I would never, I know. And she did. Whatever else Victor was, she instinctively trusted that he wouldn't hurt her, not physically. But that's what I'm trying to reconcile. How can someone who's done terrible things be so gentle? Because you're different. He closed the distance between them, his hand coming up to cup her face. Because with you, I don't have to be that version of myself. I can be something else, something better. That's a lot of pressure to put on one person. I'm not asking you to fix me, Amelia. I'm offering you a choice. You can walk away right now. I'll have my driver take you home, and you'll never see me again except in passing at the office. Or, his thumb brushed across her cheekbone. You can stay. You can let this happen. Let me show you what it could be like. And if I choose to stay, what does that make me? Mine. The word was a promise and a possession all at once. It makes you mine, under my protection. Part of my world, yes, but separate from the darkness. I would never ask you to participate in that side of things, never expose you to violence or danger. But it would still be there, in the background. Always. He was nothing if not honest. I can't change what I am, but I can control what touches you. Amelia's breath shuddered out. This was insane. She should be calling the police, reporting everything he'd just confessed. She should be terrified. But instead, she found herself asking, what happened to Marcus? The man who left me in the storm? Victor's expression went cold. Do you really want to know? Yes. He's alive, for now, currently residing in a very uncomfortable location, contemplating his choices. Victor's voice dropped to something lethal. When I'm satisfied he understands the magnitude of his mistake, he'll be released, jobless, blacklisted from every company in the city, his reputation destroyed, his future prospects non-existent. You're ruining his life. He tried to end yours. No apology, no remorse. That's me being merciful, Amelia. The version of me that existed before you would have done far worse. She should condemn it, should argue for forgiveness, for legal justice, for the moral high ground. But the truth was, a dark, secret part of her was satisfied. Marcus had been cruel and careless, had left her to die without a second thought. Why shouldn't he suffer consequences? I don't know if that makes me a terrible person, she whispered, that I'm not upset about what you did to him. It makes you human. Victor's other hand came up to frame her face, his touch achingly gentle. You're allowed to want justice. You're allowed to want protection. There's no virtue in being a perpetual victim. Is that what you think I was? A victim? I think you've spent your whole life making yourself smaller so other people could feel bigger, accepting less so others could have more, apologizing for taking up space. His eyes burned into hers. I think you're extraordinary, and the world has spent years trying to convince you otherwise. The words hit like physical blows, each one landing in a place she'd carefully armored. Her throat went tight. I see you, Amelia, Victor continued, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. All of you. The strength you hide, the fire you bank, the hunger you pretend doesn't exist. And I'm telling you right now, you don't have to hide any of it with me. You don't have to be small or quiet or grateful for scraps. You can take up all the space you want. You can ask for everything, and I'll give it to you. A tear escaped, sliding down her cheek. Victor's thumb caught it, wiped it away. Why? The question came out broken. Why me? Because you walked into my world and didn't flinch. Because you have integrity I've never seen in my circles. Because when you smile, really smile, not that polite thing you do for coworkers, it's like watching the sun break through clouds. He leaned closer, his forehead nearly touching hers. Because I've been half in love with you since you told Henderson his numbers were bullshit and walked out of his office with your head high. Amelia's breath caught. You were there? Watching the security feed, I replayed it 3 times. His mouth quirked. You were magnificent. I was terrified. You were brave. There's a difference. The space between them had shrunk to nothing. Amelia could feel the heat of him, smell that intoxicating scent of cedar and smoke. Her hands had somehow found their way to his chest, palms pressed against the crisp fabric of his shirt. She could feel his heartbeat, steady, strong, alive. If I do this, she said quietly, if I say yes, things change. I can't go back. No, you can't. My life becomes complicated. Infinitely. People might get hurt. Not you. Never you. It was a vow. That's the one line I won't cross, Amelia. Whatever happens, whoever threatens my empire, you remain untouchable, sacred. She looked up at him, this dangerous man who was offering her everything. And what do you get out of this? Really? You. Simple. Devastating. I get you. Your time, your attention, your trust. The chance to give you everything you've been denied. The privilege of watching you become who you're meant to be without limitations. His hand slid down to her shoulders, his grip firm but careful. I get to keep you safe, to make sure no one ever leaves you freezing in the dark again, to ensure your sister gets the treatment she needs without you working yourself to death. Amelia stiffened. I don't want to be bought. I'm not trying to buy you. I'm trying to take care of you. His voice gentled. There's a difference. One is transaction, the other is devotion. You don't even know me. Not really. Then let me. He pulled her closer, eliminating the last inch of space between them. Stay. Not just today. Stay until you know me too, until you can make a real choice based on reality instead of fear. It was a dare, a challenge, an invitation all wrapped into one. Amelia thought about her tiny apartment, about the medical bills stacked on her kitchen table, about the bone-deep exhaustion of working 2 jobs and still barely making ends meet. She thought about Emma, about the transplant list that never seemed to move, about the fear that lived in her chest every time her phone rang. Then she thought about last night, about Victor's arms around her in the storm, about waking up warm and safe, about someone seeing her, truly seeing her, and not looking away. Okay, she whispered. Victor went very still. Okay, you'll stay today? Or, okay, I'll stay. For real, I'll... She took a shaky breath. I'll try this. Whatever this is. The smile that broke across his face was pure triumph. Before Amelia could process it, his mouth was on hers. The kiss was fire and possession, claiming and cherishing all at once. His hand slid into her hair, angling her head to deepen the kiss. She gasped against his mouth, and his tongue swept in, tasting, exploring, conquering. Amelia's knees went weak, her hands fisted in his shirt, holding on as the world tilted sideways. She'd been kissed before, but never like this. Never with this intensity, this focus, this devastating thoroughness. Victor kissed her like he was memorizing her, like she was air and he was drowning. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. His eyes had gone dark, pupils blown wide with want. I need you to understand something, he said, his voice rough. Now that you're mine, I don't share. I don't do casual. If this is happening, it's exclusive, complete. Same, Amelia managed. I don't do halfway either. Good. He kissed her again, softer this time, but no less intense. We're on the same page then. A throat cleared behind them. They broke apart to find Eleanor standing in the doorway, her expression carefully neutral despite the knowing glint in her eyes. Apologies for the interruption, Mr. Hale, but you have a call. He says it's urgent. Victor's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Thank you, Eleanor. I'll take it in my office. He turned back to Amelia, cupping her face one more time. Stay here. Finish breakfast. I'll be back in 10 minutes. I'm not going anywhere. Something fierce flashed in his eyes at the promise. Then he was striding from the room, all business and controlled power. Eleanor moved to clear plates, moving with the efficient grace of long practice. He's different with you, she said quietly. Amelia looked up, startled. What do you mean? I've worked for Mr. Hale for 15 years. I've seen him handle every crisis, every threat, every business deal with perfect control. Nothing rattles him. Nothing gets through the armor. Eleanor paused, meeting Amelia's gaze. Until you. Last night, when he brought you here, I've never seen him so undone, so afraid. He told me that he was scared. He was more than scared, dear. He was devastated. Eleanor's expression softened. Whatever you decide about him, about this situation, know that his feelings are genuine. Victor Hale doesn't do anything halfway. If he's claimed you, it's because you matter, truly matter. The weight of that settled over Amelia's shoulders. That's a lot of pressure. Love usually is. Before Amelia could respond to that, to the L word casually dropped into conversation. Eleanor smiled and left the room. Amelia sank back into her chair, her mind spinning. This was crazy. All of it. She'd known Victor less than 24 hours and she was already agreeing to what? A relationship? An arrangement? She didn't even know what to call it, but the memory of his kiss still burned on her lips. The memory of his hands, so careful despite their obvious strength. The memory of his voice saying, "You're mine," like it was both question and answer. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. The phone that had somehow been charged overnight, another small gesture of care she hadn't asked for but received anyway. Emma's name flashed on the screen. Amelia answered. Hey. Oh, thank God. Emma's voice flooded the line, relief and concern warring in her tone. I've been so worried. This man called this morning and said you were okay, but he was so vague and I didn't know if I should believe him. And I'm fine, Amelia cut in gently. I promise. There was an incident last night with the weather, but I'm safe now. What kind of incident? And who was that man? His voice was... Emma paused. Really attractive, actually. Is there something you're not telling me? Despite everything, Amelia laughed. Maybe. Amelia Marie Carter. Emma's voice pitched into delighted scandal. Details? Now. So Amelia told her. Not everything. Not the Mafia parts, or the criminal empire, or the fact that Marcus might currently be tied to a chair somewhere learning hard lessons. But she told her about the storm, about being forgotten, about being rescued, about Victor being her boss, about the attraction she'd been hiding for 2 years. Oh my God, Emma breathed when Amelia finished. This is like something from one of my novels. It's insane, right? It's romantic. He saved you in a blizzard, and now you're at his house and he's been taking care of you, and Emma squealed, this is amazing. It's complicated. The best things usually are. Emma's voice softened. Do you like him? Really like him? Amelia thought about Victor's eyes when he'd held her in the storm, about the way he'd knelt in front of her chair, about the honesty in his voice when he'd confessed his crimes, giving her every reason to run and trusting her to stay anyway. Yes, she admitted, I really like him. Then that's all that matters. The rest you'll figure out. Emma paused. He seems like someone who takes care of the people he cares about. I liked that about him, the way he called personally to make sure I knew you were safe. Most bosses would have sent an email. If only Emma knew how true that was. How Victor's version of taking care extended to funding medical treatments and destroying enemies and offering protection that came with teeth. He is, Amelia said, protective, maybe too much. After what you've been through, you could use some protecting. Emma's tone turned serious. You spend so much time taking care of me, taking care of everyone else. Let someone take care of you for once. Amelia's throat went tight. I love you. Love you too. Now go enjoy your Christmas with your handsome rescuer, and call me later with more details. They said goodbye, and Amelia tucked her phone away, Emma's words echoing in her mind. Let someone take care of you for once. Could she do that? Could she let Victor shoulder some of the weight she'd been carrying alone for so long? The sound of approaching footsteps pulled her from her thoughts. Victor appeared in the doorway, his expression dark. What's wrong? Amelia asked immediately. Business complication. Nothing for you to worry about. But tension lined his shoulders, tightened his jaw. Amelia stood and crossed to him. If we're doing this, being together, then you can't shut me out every time something goes wrong in your world. I'm trying to protect you. I know, but I'm not made of glass, Victor. I can handle difficult truths. She reached up and touched his face, feeling the muscle jump beneath her palm. Talk to me. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. One of my operations was hit last night during the storm. Warehouse on the south side. Someone knew exactly when my security would be weakest. How bad? Bad enough. Products stolen, 2 of my men injured. His hand covered hers, holding it against his cheek. It's a move designed to provoke me, to make me react emotionally instead of strategically. Will you? No. His smile was cold. I'll react calculatedly and devastatingly, but it will take time. Planning. Is this... Amelia hesitated. Is this kind of thing normal? In my world? Yes, there's always someone testing boundaries, trying to claim territory. It's constant. He turned his head and kissed her palm, which is why I meant what I said earlier. You stay separate from this. You're not involved in operations, strategy, enforcement, any of it. What am I involved in? Me. Simple. Final. Just me. The man, not the empire. Can those be separated? For you, they have to be. It should have felt like a cop-out. Instead, it felt like a gift. Victor was offering her access to the parts of himself he kept hidden from the world. The gentleness, the vulnerability, the capacity for devotion that had no place in his business dealings. "Okay," she said. "Then tell me what you need right now. Not the crime boss, not the strategist, just Victor. What do you need?" His expression softened, the hardness bleeding away. "You. Just you. Exactly like this." So Amelia stepped into his arms and let him hold her. Felt the tension gradually ease from his frame as she pressed against him, solid and real and safe. His chin rested on top of her head, his breath warm against her hair. They stood like that for a long time, two people from completely different worlds finding unexpected peace in each other's arms. Outside, Chicago sparkled under fresh snow, beautiful and brutal in equal measure. Inside, something new was being born, something fragile but fierce, tender but unbreakable. Something that might have been love. The moment stretched between them, fragile and perfect, until Victor's phone shattered it with an insistent buzz. He pulled it from his pocket, glanced at the screen, and his expression hardened into something diamond sharp. "I need to handle this," he said, his voice carrying that cold edge she was beginning to recognize as his business persona. "It won't take long." "Go," Amelia said, stepping back. "I'll be fine." His hand caught her wrist, gentle but firm. "Eleanor will show you around if you'd like. The library, the gardens, whatever you want to see. Just don't leave the property without telling me first. Victor, I'm not a prisoner." "No, but you are under my protection now, which means I need to know where you are." His thumb stroked across her pulse point. "Humor me, at least until we deal with whoever hit my warehouse." The reminder of the danger lurking at the edges of his world sent a chill down her spine. "Okay." He kissed her forehead, lingering for a heartbeat, then released her and strode from the room with that predatory grace that marked everything he did. Amelia stood alone in the dining room, sunlight streaming through crystal-clean windows, and tried to process the surreal turn her life had taken in less than 24 hours. Yesterday morning, she'd been worried about meeting her rent payment. Now she was standing in a mansion, wearing clothes that had been laundered by staff she didn't know, agreeing to be with a man who ran a criminal empire. The smart thing would be to run, to thank Victor for saving her life and politely extract herself from this beautiful, dangerous situation before she got in too deep. But when she examined her feelings honestly, she realized she was already in too deep. Had been since the moment Victor's eyes met hers in that blizzard, fierce with determination and fear. Eleanor appeared in the doorway as if summoned by thought. "Would you like a tour, Miss Carter, or perhaps you'd prefer to rest more?" "A tour would be wonderful, actually, if it's not too much trouble." "No trouble at all." Eleanor's smile was warm. "I enjoy showing off this house. Mr. Hale has excellent taste, even if he rarely takes time to appreciate what he's built." They started in this west wing, moving through rooms that felt more like museum galleries than living spaces. A formal sitting room with furniture that looked antique and probably was. A music room with a grand piano so pristine that Amelia suspected no one had played it in years. A study lined floor to ceiling with leather-bound books. A massive desk positioned to overlook snow-covered gardens. "Does he use this room?" Amelia asked, trailing her fingers along the desk's polished surface. "Occasionally when he needs to think, but mostly he works from his office downtown or the secure room in the East Wing." Eleanor paused. "The East Wing is off-limits, I'm afraid. That's where he conducts his more private business." The delicate phrasing didn't fool either of them. That was where the empire was run, where decisions were made that affected lives and livelihoods, where power was wielded with surgical precision. Amelia nodded her understanding and followed Eleanor to the next room, a library that stole her breath. 3 stories of books, connected by a wrought iron spiral staircase, with reading nooks tucked into alcoves and a massive fireplace dominating one wall. Light poured through a domed skylight, illuminating floating dust motes like tiny stars. "Oh," Amelia breathed, moving into the space like she was entering a cathedral. Her fingers brushed across book spines, classics, contemporary fiction, history, philosophy, all organized with meticulous care. "This is Mr. Hale's favorite room," Eleanor said quietly. "He spends hours here when he can't sleep. Reading helps quiet his mind, he says." The revelation painted a different picture of Victor than the ruthless crime boss. She imagined him here in the small hours of the morning, the weight of his empire pressing down, seeking solace in stories and ideas. "What does he read?" she asked. "Everything. Philosophy, military strategy, poetry, fiction. He's particularly fond of Russian literature. Dostoevsky, Tolstoy." Eleanor's expression softened. "He says understanding human nature is essential to his work. Books teach him things people try to hide." Amelia pulled a volume from the shelf, Crime and Punishment, the irony not lost on her. The pages were worn, corners turned down at significant passages. Victor had read this, had engaged with questions of morality and redemption, had grappled with the same darkness that defined his world. "You can borrow anything you like," Eleanor offered. "Mr. Hale would be pleased to know someone's enjoying them." They continued the tour. A formal dining room that could host state dinners, a wine cellar that descended into climate-controlled darkness, a gym equipped with every machine imaginable. Each space was perfect, beautiful, and somehow lonely, like a stage set waiting for actors to bring it to life. The tour ended at a conservatory overlooking the back gardens. Glass walls and ceiling created a greenhouse effect, warmth wrapping around them despite the winter cold outside. Plants thrived here, orchids, ferns, tropical flowers that had no business surviving a Chicago winter. "This is incredible," Amelia said, moving between carefully tended beds. "Mr. Hale's mother designed it," Eleanor said, and something in her tone made Amelia turn. "Before she passed, he maintains it exactly as she left it. Won't change a single plant." "When did she die?" 15 years ago. Cancer." Eleanor's eyes grew distant. She was a remarkable woman, kind, strong, elegant. She saw the good in Victor even when others only saw his father's darkness. "His father?" Eleanor seemed to catch herself. "That's a story Mr. Hale should tell you himself if he chooses. I've said too much already." But the damage was done. Amelia's mind was already spinning, piecing together fragments. Victor's ease with violence, his understanding of power dynamics, the way he moved through the world like someone born to it, this wasn't self-made. This was inherited. Before she could probe further, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her accept the call. "Amelia Carter?" A woman's voice, professional and crisp. "Yes?" "This is Dr. Reeves from Chicago General. I'm calling about your sister, Emma." Amelia's heart stopped. "Is she okay?" "She's stable, but we've had a development. A donor match has become available. Kidney transplant, perfect compatibility. We can schedule surgery as early as next week if you approve." The world tilted. Emma had been on the transplant list for 3 years. 3 years of waiting, hoping, watching her decline. And now, suddenly, miraculously, "Yes," Amelia said, her voice shaking. "Yes, of course. When do you need me to sign paperwork?" "We can handle most of it electronically, but we'll need you to come in tomorrow for a consultation. There are financial considerations we need to discuss. Whatever it costs, we'll manage." Somehow. She'd figure it out. Sell everything she owned if necessary. Actually, that's been addressed. An anonymous benefactor has covered all expenses. Surgery, hospital stay, anti-rejection medications, follow-up care, everything. Amelia's knees went weak. She reached for the nearest bench and sat down hard. "What?" "I don't have details about the donor, but the financial arrangements came through this morning. Your sister's care is fully funded." Dr. Reeves's voice warmed. "It's quite extraordinary. In my 20 years of medicine, I've never seen anything like it." Amelia's vision blurred. She knew exactly who had done this. Knew without question. Victor. She managed to get through the rest of the conversation on autopilot, confirming appointment times and promising to bring Emma in tomorrow morning. When she hung up, she sat in the conservatory surrounded by his mother's flowers, tears streaming down her face. He'd done this. Somehow, in the space of a single morning, Victor had arranged everything, had given her sister life. "Miss Carter?" Eleanor's concerned face swam into view. "Are you all right?" "I need to see Victor now, please." Eleanor didn't ask questions. She simply nodded and led Amelia through the house at a brisk pace, upstairs and down hallways until they reached a heavy oak door. Eleanor knocked once, opened it a crack, and spoke quietly to someone inside. Then the door swung wide and Victor was there, concern etched into every line of his face. "What's wrong?" Amelia walked straight into his arms, buried her face in his chest, and sobbed. His arms came around her immediately, holding her against him while she shook apart. One hand stroked her hair, the other pressed against her back, keeping her anchored while emotion crashed through her in waves. "Tell me," he murmured against her temple. "Whatever it is, tell me." "Emma," she managed between gasps. "Donor match. Surgery next week. Everything paid for. Everything." Victor's chest rose and fell beneath her cheek. "Good." She pulled back enough to look up at him, his face blurry through tears. "You did this?" "Yes." "How?" "It's impossible to just... There are waiting lists, protocols. I have resources, connections." His thumb wiped away her tears with infinite gentleness. "And I told you I take care of what's mine. Your sister's well-being affects you, so it affects me." "Victor, this is... I can't possibly..." She couldn't find words big enough for what he'd done. "This is her life. You gave her back her life." "I gave you peace of mind. There's a difference." But his expression said otherwise, said he understood exactly what this meant. "I don't know how to thank you." "Then don't. Just let me do this. Let me use my power for something good for once." His voice dropped, raw and honest. "You have no idea how long it's been since I could do something that wasn't calculated or strategic. This is just right. Helping you, protecting you, making sure the people you love are safe." Fresh tears spilled over. Amelia kissed him then, pouring everything she couldn't articulate into the press of her mouth against his. Gratitude and wonder and something deeper, something that felt dangerously like love, blooming too fast and too fierce to control. Victor's response was immediate and consuming. His hands cradled her face like she was precious, irreplaceable, while his mouth claimed hers with devastating thoroughness. The kiss went from tender to hungry in heartbeats, desire igniting between them like struck matches. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Victor rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me tonight, here, in my room. I need to know you're close." The request carried layers of meaning. This wasn't just about proximity. It was about trust, about vulnerability, about crossing lines that couldn't be uncrossed. "Okay," Amelia whispered. Something blazed to life in his eyes. "You're sure?" "I'm terrified, but I'm sure." He kissed her again, softer this time, then pulled back and seemed to notice for the first time that they had an audience. 3 men stood in the room behind them, hard-eyed, dangerous-looking men who were very carefully not looking at their boss kissing a woman in the doorway. "Out," Victor said without turning around. "We'll continue this later." The men filed past with military precision, each nodding respectfully to Amelia as they went. The last one, massive, scarred, terrifying, paused and said in a surprisingly gentle voice, "Good to see him happy, miss." Then they were gone, and Amelia was alone with Victor in what was clearly a war room. Maps covered one wall, marked with symbols and notations she didn't understand. Computer screens displayed feeds from various locations. A table in the center held documents weighed down by expensive paperweights. This was the East Wing Eleanor had mentioned, the forbidden zone where empire business happened. "I shouldn't be in here," Amelia said. "Probably not, but I don't care." Victor pulled her fully into the room and closed the door. "You want honesty? Complete honesty? This is part of it. This is how I keep control, how I protect what's mine." Amelia studied the maps, recognizing some Chicago neighborhoods, seeing others marked in red. What are the red zones? Territory disputes, areas where rivals are pushing boundaries. He moved to stand beside her, his presence solid and warm. "The warehouse hit last night was here." He pointed to a location on the south side. "Deliberate provocation by a man named Konstantin Volkov. He's been trying to muscle into my operations for 6 months." "What will you do?" "End him," said flatly, without emotion. "Not personally. I have people for that. But his organization will be dismantled by the end of the week, his assets absorbed or destroyed, and he'll disappear." The casual description of murder should have horrified her. Instead, Amelia found herself asking, "Will innocents be hurt?" Victor's eyes snapped to hers, sharp and assessing. No, my methods are surgical, precise. Only targets, never collateral damage. And you're certain he's guilty? That he ordered the attack? I'm certain. I have proof, witnesses, and his lieutenant singing like a canary in exchange for immunity. Victor's mouth curved in something too cold to be called a smile. I don't act without evidence, Amelia. I'm not a monster who kills indiscriminately. I'm a businessman who eliminates threats to my organization. The distinction mattered to him, she realized. He needed her to understand that he operated by a code, even if that code existed outside the law. Okay, she said quietly. He searched her face. That's it? Just okay? What do you want me to say? That I approve? That I think murder is fine as long as it's justified? She shook her head. I can't give you that, Victor. I can't pretend this doesn't trouble me, but I also can't pretend I don't understand it. Your world has different rules, different stakes, and you can live with that. I don't know yet, but I'm willing to try. She reached up and touched his face, feeling the tension beneath his skin. You saved my life. You're saving my sister's life. You're offering me protection and care I've never had. I can't reconcile that with the violence. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I can accept that you're both things. The man who kills enemies and the man who kisses me like I'm everything. Victor's eyes closed briefly, like her words had struck something deep. When he opened them again, they blazed with fierce emotion. You see me. Not just the power or the danger. You see all of it, and you're still here. I'm still here, she confirmed. He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. They stood like that for long minutes, surrounded by maps of his empire, while outside the window Chicago gleamed cold and beautiful under winter sun. Eventually, Victor's phone rang again. He swore softly and checked the screen. I have to take this. 5 minutes. Amelia nodded and wandered to the windows while he spoke in clipped sentences, his voice dropping into that dangerous register that meant business was being handled. She looked out over the grounds, the frozen fountain, the gates that marked the boundary between this world and the normal one she'd inhabited just yesterday. Her phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Doctor called. I can't believe it. Who did this? How? Amelia glanced at Victor, saw him deep in conversation about shipment routes and security protocols, and texted back. Long story. We'll explain everything tomorrow. Just know you're going to be okay. Finally, Emma's response was immediate. I'm crying. I'm so happy I'm crying. Thank you. Thank you. I love you so much. Amelia's throat went tight. She tucked her phone away before the tears could start again. Victor ended his call and returned to her side. Tomorrow I have meetings I can't avoid, but tonight is ours. What do you want to do? The question was simple, but weighted with possibility. What did she want? To slow down, to think, to process everything that had happened, or to dive in completely, to surrender to this dangerous attraction and see where it led? Show me your room, she said, making her choice. Heat flared in his eyes. Are you sure? Stop asking me if I'm sure. I'm a grown woman making a conscious decision. She stepped closer, eliminating the space between them. I want to be with you, completely. Is that clear enough? His smile was slow and devastating. Crystal. He took her hand and led her from the war room, through corridors she hadn't seen on Eleanor's tour, up another staircase to the top floor. The master suite occupied the entire western corner of the house. Massive windows overlooking the city, a fireplace large enough to stand in, furniture that managed to be both masculine and elegant. The bed dominated the space, king-sized, maybe larger, with charcoal linens and enough pillows to furnish a hotel. The thought of sharing it with Victor sent heat pooling low in her belly. Second thoughts? He asked, watching her face. Thousands of them. But I'm not changing my mind. She turned to face him. I want this. I want you. Victor closed the distance between them in 2 strides, his hands framing her face, his mouth descending to claim hers with a hunger that stole her breath. This kiss was different from the others, deeper, darker, edged with promise and possession. His hands moved to her waist, pulling her flush against him so she could feel every hard plane of his body. Amelia gasped, and he took advantage, his tongue sweeping into her mouth, tasting, exploring, conquering. She'd never been kissed like this, never been wanted like this. Every touch said mine, every caress claimed territory, every breath they shared bound them closer. Victor's hand slid under her shirt, warm against her skin, and Amelia arched into the touch. Her own hands found their way to his chest, fumbling with buttons until she could press her palms against bare skin. He was all lean muscle and controlled power, his heart hammering beneath her touch. "Amelia," he groaned against her mouth, "tell me to stop, and I will. But tell me now, because in another minute I won't be able to." "Don't stop," she breathed. "Don't you dare stop!" His control shattered. In seconds, her shirt was gone, his following immediately after. He lifted her effortlessly, and she wrapped her legs around his waist, gasping as he carried her to the bed. They fell together onto the mattress, a tangle of limbs and desperate touches. Victor's mouth moved from her lips to her jaw, her throat, the hollow of her collarbone, each kiss burning like a brand. His hands were everywhere, her back, her sides, her hips, touching her like he was memorizing every curve. "You're so beautiful," he murmured against her skin. "So goddamn beautiful it hurts to look at you." Amelia's response was lost in a moan as his mouth found her breast through the thin fabric of her bra. Her hands fisted in his hair, holding him close, and she felt him smile against her skin. "Responsive," he noted with satisfaction. "I'm going to enjoy discovering every sound you make." He proceeded to do exactly that, mapping her body with devastating attention to detail. Every touch was calculated to drive her higher, every kiss placed with precision. Victor approached pleasure the same way he approached everything else, with focus, intensity, and absolute determination to succeed. By the time he finally settled between her thighs, Amelia was shaking with need. She'd never wanted anything the way she wanted this, wanted him, wanted to be claimed and cherished, and completely consumed. "Victor," she gasped, "please." "I've got you," he promised, his voice rough with desire. "I'll always have you." And then there were no more words, just sensation and heat, and the overwhelming rightness of their bodies joining. Amelia cried out, and Victor swallowed the sound with a kiss, moving with exquisite control until she begged him to let go. When he finally did, when they both did, it was like the world tilted sideways. Pleasure crashed through her in waves, dragging her under, and through it all, Victor held her, grounded her, whispered her name like a prayer. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweat cooling on heated skin, hearts gradually slowing to normal rhythm. Victor gathered her close, tucking her against his side like she belonged there. "Stay," he murmured into her hair. "Not just tonight. Move in. Be with me. Let me take care of you the way you deserve." Amelia's breath caught. "That's moving fast." "We've already moved fast. This is just making it official." His hand traced patterns on her bare shoulder. "I want you here. In my home, in my bed, in my life. I want to wake up with you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. I want to give you everything you've been denied." "What about my apartment, my job, my life?" "Keep the apartment if it makes you feel safe to have a backup plan. As for your job," he shifted to look down at her, "I'm promoting you to a new position, direct financial oversight for my legitimate holdings. Better pay, better hours, your own office. You'll report directly to me, which means no more dealing with idiots like Marcus Reeves. That's nepotism. That's recognizing talent and putting it where it belongs." His expression was serious. "You're brilliant, Amelia. You've been wasted in that department, doing grunt work for people who don't appreciate your abilities. I'm offering you a chance to use your skills properly." She wanted to argue, wanted to insist she earn her own way. But the truth was, he was right. She had been wasted, overlooked, underutilized. "I'll think about it," she said carefully. "That's all I ask." He kissed her forehead. "Think about all of it. The job, moving in, building a life together. But while you think," his arms tightened around her, "stay here, with me. At least until Emma's surgery is done and she's recovering. Let me take care of both of you." Put that way, how could she refuse? Emma would need support during recovery. Amelia would need to be close to the hospital, available at all hours. And Victor was offering a safe place to weather the storm. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll stay, for now." His smile against her temple was pure triumph. "For now. I can work with that." They lay in comfortable silence, watching afternoon light fade into evening through the windows. Outside, the city began to glow with a million lights, a constellation of human life and activity. Somewhere out there, Victor's empire hummed along, maintained by people who feared and respected his name. Somewhere out there, threats lurked and enemies plotted. But here, in this room, there was only warmth and safety, and the overwhelming rightness of being held by someone who saw her completely. Amelia's eyes grew heavy. She fought sleep, not wanting to miss a moment of this, but Victor's hand stroking through her hair was hypnotic. "Sleep," he commanded softly. "I'll be here when you wake up. Promise?" "Promise. You're safe, Amelia. Always. I'll make sure of it." And believing him, trusting him in a way she'd never trusted anyone, Amelia let herself drift into sleep, wrapped in the arms of Chicago's most dangerous man, and feeling, for the first time in years, completely protected. Amelia woke to darkness and the sound of voices, low, tense, dangerous. For a disoriented moment, she didn't know where she was. Then memory flooded back and she realized she was alone in Victor's bed, the sheets still warm where he'd been lying beside her. The voices came from somewhere close. She sat up, pulling the sheet around herself, and spotted light seeping under a door she hadn't noticed earlier, probably an adjacent office or sitting room. "I don't care what it costs," Victor's voice cut through the darkness, cold as January ice. "I want every property he owns seized by morning, every account frozen, every ally he has questioning their loyalty." A pause. Then another voice. One of the men from the war room earlier. "What about his family, wife, and 2 kids?" "Untouched. They get a clean exit, new identities, money enough to start over, protection if they need it. The sins are his, not theirs." Victor's tone shifted, became even harder. "But Volkov himself? I want him to understand what it means to threaten what's mine. Make it clear, Dmitri. Make it unforgettable." "Understood, sir." Footsteps, the sound of a door opening and closing. Then silence. Amelia sat in the darkness, her heart hammering. She'd known intellectually what Victor was, what he did, but hearing him casually order someone's destruction with the same tone other men used to discuss stock portfolios, made it viscerally real. The bedroom door opened and Victor appeared, silhouetted against the light from the other room. He froze when he saw her sitting up. "You're awake," he said, his voice carefully neutral. "How much did you hear?" "Enough." She pulled her knees to her chest. "You're going after Volkov, tonight." "Yes." He moved into the room, not bothering to sugarcoat it. "He made his choice when he hit my warehouse. Now he faces the consequences." "And his family?" "Will be protected and relocated. I don't punish children for their father's mistakes." Victor sat on the edge of the bed, his face half in shadow. "Does that make it better, that I have limits?" Amelia studied him, this man who could order executions and protect innocence in the same breath. "I don't know. Maybe. It's complicated." "It's always complicated." His hand found hers in the darkness, fingers threading through hers. "I won't apologize for what I am, Amelia, or for protecting my empire. But I need you to tell me, can you live with this? With knowing what I do, even if you're not part of it?" The question hung between them, weighted with everything they'd built in barely 2 days. "I'm still here," she said quietly. "That should tell you something. It tells me you're braver than most, or crazier." His thumb stroked across her knuckles. "Come back to bed. Let me hold you. Tomorrow's going to be difficult. Emma's consultation, decisions to make. You need rest." He was right. Amelia let him pull her back down into the warmth of the sheets, curling against his chest as his arms wrapped around her. His heartbeat was steady beneath her ear, strong and sure. "Tell me about your mother," she said into the darkness. Eleanor mentioned the conservatory. Victor went still. For a long moment she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, "She was everything good in my life, kind, gentle, strong in ways my father never understood. She saw potential in me beyond what I was raised to be." "What were you raised to be?" "My father's successor, cruel, calculating, ruthless. He ran the organization before me, built it on fear and brutality." Victor's voice was distant, remembering. My mother tried to balance that, tried to teach me that power could be used for more than destruction, that mercy wasn't weakness. Did it work? Sometimes, when I remember her lessons. His arms tightened around Amelia. She died when I was 22. Cancer took her slowly, painfully. My father refused to let her go to the hospital until it was too late. Said it showed weakness, that it would make rival organizations think we were vulnerable. Amelia's breath caught at the cruelty of it. I was with her at the end, Victor continued. She made me promise that I'd be better than him, that I'd use the power I'd inherit to protect people, not just exploit them. I've tried to keep that promise, in my own way. Is that why you save women from blizzards? Amelia asked softly. Among other reasons. She felt him smile against her hair. Though mostly I do that because I'm desperately, irrationally drawn to a specific woman who doesn't know her own worth. Heat bloomed in her chest. Victor. Sleep, Amelia. We can talk more tomorrow. But sleep eluded her. She lay awake listening to his breathing even out, feeling the solid warmth of him against her back, and wondered how her life had transformed so completely in such a short time. Eventually, exhaustion won, and she drifted off. Her last conscious thought a prayer that Emma's surgery would go well and that she was making the right choice trusting this dangerous, complicated man. Morning arrived with pale winter sunlight and the smell of coffee. Amelia woke alone again, but this time there was a note on Victor's pillow. Meeting ran late. Didn't want to wake you. Breakfast downstairs whenever you're ready. She showered in his bathroom, a marble and glass palace with a rainfall shower that probably cost more than her car, and dressed in the clothes that had mysteriously appeared in the closet overnight. Her size, her style, but clearly expensive. Another gesture of care she hadn't asked for but appreciated anyway. Downstairs, she found Eleanor setting out breakfast in a smaller, cozier dining room than yesterday's formal space. Good morning, Miss Carter. Mr. Hale asked me to let you know his driver will take you to the hospital whenever you're ready. He apologizes for not being here himself, but business demanded his attention. Thank you, Eleanor. Amelia accepted coffee gratefully. Has there been any news about... She stopped, unsure how much Eleanor knew. The Volkov situation? Eleanor's expression was knowing. It's been handled, completely and thoroughly. You needn't worry about it. The casual mention of what was essentially a criminal takedown should have shocked Amelia. Instead, she was starting to understand that in this world, such things were simply business as usual. She ate quickly, too nervous about Emma's appointment to do justice to Eleanor's cooking. By 9 o'clock, she was in the back of Victor's SUV, the same driver from the blizzard night at the wheel, heading toward the hospital. Her phone buzzed with a text from Victor. How are you feeling? Nervous, she typed back. But okay. You'll be fine. Emma will be fine. I'll check in later. If you need anything at all, call me immediately. The protective command warmed her despite her anxiety. The hospital was a maze of sterile corridors and fluorescent lights, so different from Victor's elegant world. Amelia found Emma in pre-consultation waiting, her sister practically vibrating with nervous energy. Mia! Emma launched herself into Amelia's arms, hugging her fiercely. I still can't believe this is happening. It's like a miracle. It's real, Amelia assured her, blinking back tears. It's really real. They sat together while Dr. Reeves explained the procedure, the risks, the recovery timeline. Emma listened with wide eyes, asking intelligent questions that showed she'd done her research. When the doctor mentioned the anonymous donor, not the organ donor, but the financial one, Emma turned to Amelia with knowing eyes. It was him, wasn't it? Your mysterious rescuer? Amelia nodded. I want to thank him. Properly. Can you arrange that? Maybe. After you're recovered and strong. Amelia squeezed her sister's hand. He's complicated, but he cares about you because you matter to me. He must care about you a lot to do something like this. Emma's expression turned speculative. Just how serious is this thing between you two? Heat flooded Amelia's cheeks. It's new, very new, but intense. Intense good or intense scary? Both, Amelia admitted. Definitely both. Emma studied her face for a long moment. You're happy. I haven't seen you this happy in years. Not since before Mom died. The observation struck deep. Amelia hadn't realized how much weight she'd been carrying, how much of herself she'd lost to stress and struggle and endless responsibility. But Emma was right. She felt lighter now, less alone. "He makes me feel seen," Amelia said quietly. "Like I matter. Like I'm worth protecting and caring for. You are worth that. You always have been." Emma's eyes shone with tears. "I'm glad someone's finally showing you." The consultation wrapped up with surgery scheduled for the following Wednesday, 6 days away. Enough time to prepare, but not so long that Amelia would drive herself crazy with worry. Dr. Reeves assured them the donor was healthy, compatible, and that Emma's chances for full recovery were excellent. Walking out of the hospital, Amelia felt like she could breathe properly for the first time in months. Emma was going to be okay. Really, truly okay. Her phone rang as they reached the parking lot. Victor. "How did it go?" he asked without preamble. "Good, really good. Surgery is next Wednesday." Amelia watched Emma climb into the SUV Victor had sent. "Thank you for all of this. I don't know how I'll ever—" "Stop," he interrupted gently. "You don't owe me anything, Amelia. This isn't transactional. I did it because seeing you happy makes me happy. That's all." Her throat went tight. "I want to see you. Are you at the office?" "I can be wherever you need me to be." "Your house, then. I'll be there in 20 minutes." "I'll meet you there." The drive back felt longer than it should have, anticipation building with every mile. When they pulled through the gates, Victor's car was already there, and he was standing on the front steps waiting. Amelia barely made it out of the SUV before she was in his arms, kissing him with all the gratitude and emotion churning through her. He caught her, lifted her, held her against him while she poured everything into the kiss. "Thank you," she breathed against his mouth. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." "Always," he murmured back, carrying her into the house. "Anything you need, anything at all." They made it as far as the library before the desperate need became too much. Victor set her on the edge of the massive desk, his hands already working at her clothes, his mouth hot against her throat. "Here?" she gasped. "Here, now. I need you now." His voice was rough, control fraying at the edges. And she needed him too, needed this connection, this proof that what they'd built was real and solid, and not just a fever dream born of crisis and attraction. They came together with desperate urgency, mouths fused, hands grasping, bodies seeking the perfect fit. Amelia's back arched as Victor drove into her, pleasure sparking along every nerve. The desk was hard beneath her, but she didn't care, too lost in sensation and need and the overwhelming rightness of being claimed by this man. "Mine," Victor growled against her skin. "Say it. Say you're mine." "Yours," she gasped. "I'm yours, Victor, completely." The words seemed to break something in him. His control shattered, and he took her with devastating intensity, driving them both higher, until pleasure crested and crashed and left them shaking in its wake. Afterward, Victor cradled her against his chest, both of them still clothed but thoroughly disheveled. His heart hammered beneath her ear, his breathing ragged. "That was," he started. "Necessary," Amelia finished. "That was necessary." His laugh was low and warm. "Yes, definitely necessary." He pressed a kiss to her temple. "But maybe next time we make it to an actual bed." "Maybe." She smiled against his shirt. "No promises, though." He helped her straighten her clothes, his hands gentle and proprietary, as he buttoned her blouse and smoothed her hair. The tenderness of the gesture, after the intensity of what they'd just shared, made her chest ache. "I have something for you," Victor said, reaching into his jacket pocket. He pulled out a small key on a platinum chain. "For the house. So you can come and go as you please. This is your home now, too." Amelia stared at the key, understanding the significance. This wasn't just access to a building. This was acceptance into his private world, his sanctuary. "I haven't officially moved in yet," she pointed out. "You will," said with absolute certainty. "So you might as well have the key now." She took it, the metal warm from being against his body. "Thank you. There's more." He pulled out his phone and showed her an image. A penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the lake. "This is yours too. Fully furnished, fully paid for. Close to the hospital so you can be near Emma during her recovery. It's in your name, no strings, no conditions. If you decide you need space from me, from this, you have somewhere to go. Amelia's hands trembled as she looked at the photos. Victor, this is too much. It's not nearly enough. His voice was fierce. I'm asking you to take a leap of faith with me, Amelia. To trust me with your safety, your future, your heart. The least I can do is make sure you have options. That you're never trapped or dependent or forced to stay because you have nowhere else to go. The gesture was so thoughtful, so considerate of her autonomy that tears pricked her eyes. You're trying to protect me from yourself. I'm trying to protect you from everything, including my own selfishness. He cupped her face, his expression serious. I want you to choose me because you want to, not because you need to. This apartment gives you freedom to make that choice honestly. She kissed him then, pouring all her complex emotions into it, gratitude and desire and fear, and something that felt dangerously close to love. I choose you, she whispered against his mouth. I'm terrified, and it's crazy, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I choose you. Victor's arms banded around her, holding her like she might disappear if he let go. I won't let you regret it. I swear to you, Amelia, I will spend every day proving I'm worthy of that choice. They stood like that for long moments, wrapped in each other, while outside the library windows snow began to fall again, gentler this time, beautiful instead of brutal. Eventually, Victor's phone buzzed with an insistent rhythm that meant business couldn't be ignored any longer. He swore softly and checked the screen. I have to deal with something, he said, frustration clear in his voice. But tonight, let's have dinner, just us. No business, no interruptions. I want to know everything about you that I don't already know. You mean there are things you haven't already researched? Amelia teased. Your favorite color, your first kiss, what you wanted to be when you were 7, the things that make you laugh, the songs that make you cry. His smile was soft. The things that make you you, not just facts in a file. The distinction melted her. Tonight sounds perfect. He kissed her once more, lingering and deep, then reluctantly pulled away. Eleanor will help you settle in. Anything you need from your apartment, my people will get it. Anything you need, period. You tell me. I'm starting to notice a pattern, Amelia said. You're very good at taking care of people. Only people who matter, and you, Amelia Carter, matter more than anything else in my world. Then he was gone, striding from the library with that predatory grace, already pulling out his phone to handle whatever crisis demanded his attention. Amelia remained in the library, running her fingers over book spines, processing everything that had happened in less than 48 hours. Her life had been completely upended. She'd gone from struggling accountant to the protected lover of Chicago's most powerful criminal. She'd secured her sister's future. She'd been given keys to a mansion and a penthouse she didn't ask for. She should feel overwhelmed, trapped, panicked. Instead, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. Hope. Her phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Are you okay? You seem different today. Happy, different. Amelia smiled and typed back, I'm good, really good. Better than I've been in a long time. It's because of him, isn't it? The mysterious benefactor? Yes. His name is Victor. And yes, before you ask, it's serious. Tell me everything. And I mean everything. After your surgery. When you're recovered and can handle the full story, trust me, it's complicated. I'm holding you to that. Love you, Mia. Love you too, Em. Rest. Build your strength. Wednesday is coming. Amelia tucked her phone away and moved through the house, exploring rooms she'd only glimpsed before. She found herself drawn back to the conservatory, to the tropical warmth and living green that Victor's mother had created. Eleanor found her there an hour later, sitting among the orchids with a book from the library. Mr. Hale asked me to show you to your room, Eleanor said. He's had your belongings brought from your apartment and everything unpacked. My room? Amelia's eyebrows rose. I thought I was staying in his. You have the option of both. Eleanor's smile was knowing. Mr. Hale is many things, but presumptuous isn't one of them. He wants you to have your own space if you need it. The consideration shouldn't have surprised her anymore, but it did. Every time she thought she had Victor figured out, he revealed another layer of thoughtfulness. Eleanor led her to a suite on the second floor, smaller than Victor's, but no less beautiful. Her clothes hung in the closet, her toiletries arranged in the bathroom, her books stacked on the nightstand. Someone had even brought her laptop and the photos of Emma she kept on her desk. "This is incredible," Amelia breathed. "Mister, Hill wanted you to feel at home, to have space that's entirely yours." Eleanor moved toward the door, then paused. "He's a good man, Miss Carter. Complicated, certainly. Dangerous in his way, but good where it matters. I hope you'll remember that when things get difficult." "When?" Amelia asked. "Not if. In his world, difficulties are inevitable, but I believe you're strong enough to weather them." Eleanor's expression was warm, "And I believe he'll move heaven and earth to protect you from the worst of it." After Eleanor left, Amelia spent time arranging her things, making the space feel like hers. It was strange, having so much room. Her entire apartment could have fit in this suite with space left over, but it wasn't the size that made her emotional. It was the care evident in every detail. Someone had remembered that she liked lavender-scented candles, that she took her vitamins in the morning, that she kept a specific photo of her and Emma from their last vacation on her bedside table. Victor had paid attention, had ensured every small comfort was provided. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of texts with Emma, a call with the hospital confirming pre-surgery instructions, and a long, hot bath in the massive tub. By the time evening approached, Amelia felt steadier, more grounded in this new reality. She dressed for dinner in one of the new outfits that had appeared in her closet, a simple black dress that managed to be elegant without being overly formal. When she descended the stairs at 7, Victor was waiting in the foyer, wearing dark slacks and a charcoal sweater that made his eyes look almost black. "You're beautiful," he said, his voice dropping to something rough and appreciative. "You're not so bad yourself." She accepted the hand he offered, letting him lead her to a small dining room she hadn't seen before, intimate, candlelit, set for two. "I wanted tonight to be about us," Victor said, pulling out her chair. "No business, no empire, no complications, just two people getting to know each other." Over wine and food prepared by Eleanor's expert hands, they talked, really talked. Amelia learned about Victor's childhood, the brutal education and power his father had provided, the gentler lessons his mother had taught in secret. She learned about his first kill at 17, done in self-defense but traumatic all the same. She learned about the years he'd spent wresting control of the organization from his father's loyalists, transforming it from blunt brutality into something more surgical and strategic. In turn, she told him about growing up with Emma, about their mother's death from the same kidney disease Emma now fought, about her father walking away when medical bills mounted, unable to handle the pressure, about working 3 jobs through college to graduate debt-free, only to immediately take on Emma's debts instead. "You've been carrying the world on your shoulders," Victor said quietly, his hand covering hers on the table. "For how long?" "Since I was 19, almost 10 years. And who takes care of you?" The question hit like a physical blow. "I take care of myself, sir." "That's not the same thing." His thumb stroked across her knuckles. "Everyone needs someone, Amelia, even strong, capable women who've learned to survive alone. Is that what you're offering, to be that someone?" "I'm offering to be everything. Your partner, your protector, your safe place to fall." His eyes held hers, intense and unwavering. "I'm offering to carry some of that weight so you don't have to bear it alone anymore." Tears burned behind her eyes. "That's a lot to offer someone you barely know." "I know enough. I know you're loyal, brilliant, compassionate, despite having every reason to be bitter. I know you put everyone else first and yourself last. I know you're stronger than you think and braver than you believe." He stood and moved around the table, pulling her to her feet. "And I know that I've never wanted anything the way I want you. Not power, not money, not control, just you, completely. Forever." The word forever should have terrified her. Instead, it settled into her chest like a promise finding its home. "Victor," she whispered, his name a prayer and a plea. "Say you'll stay. Not just until Emma recovers, really stay. Build a life with me. Let me show you what it's like to be cherished instead of just needed." Standing in the candlelight, wrapped in his arms, Amelia made the choice that would change everything. "Yes," she breathed. "I'll stay. I'll build a life with you. Her voice broke. I'll let you cherish me. The kiss he gave her was tender and fierce all at once, a claiming and a promise. When he lifted her into his arms and carried her upstairs, Amelia went willingly, surrendering to the dangerous, beautiful future they would build together. The days leading up to Emma's surgery passed in a blur of preparation and growing intimacy. Amelia found herself settling into Victor's world with surprising ease, the rhythm of their life together becoming natural faster than she'd thought possible. Mornings began with coffee in the conservatory, Victor's hand wrapped around hers as they watched Chicago wake up beyond the glass. Evenings ended tangled together in his bed, whispered confessions in the dark revealing layers neither had shown anyone else. But beneath the domestic tranquility, Amelia could feel tension building. Victor's phone rang constantly with business he handled in clipped, dangerous tones. Security around the estate increased. More men at the gates, cameras covering every angle. Protocols she didn't fully understand but recognized as necessary. On Tuesday evening, the night before Emma's surgery, Victor found Amelia pacing the library, too anxious to sit still. "She's going to be fine," he said, pulling her into his arms. "Dr. Reeves is one of the best surgeons in the country. The donor is perfect. Everything is aligned." "I know. Logically, I know." Amelia pressed her face against his chest, breathing in his steady calm. "But she's all I have. If something goes wrong, it won't." His arms tightened around her. "And even if the impossible happens, you're not alone anymore. You have me." The simple statement broke through her spiraling anxiety. She did have him. This fierce, complicated man who'd appeared in her life like fate itself and refused to let her face anything alone. "Stay with me tonight," she whispered. "Just hold me. I need to feel grounded." So he did. They lay together in the darkness, Victor's hands stroking through her hair while she fought sleep, afraid of what tomorrow might bring. Eventually, exhaustion won and she drifted off to the sound of his heartbeat, steady and sure beneath her ear. Morning arrived too quickly. Victor drove her to the hospital himself, his hand never leaving hers during the ride. Emma was already in pre-op when they arrived, looking small and vulnerable in the hospital gown but smiling when she saw them. "You must be Victor," Emma said, her voice bright despite the circumstances. "The miracle worker." Victor's expression softened in a way Amelia had never seen. "I'm just someone who cares about your sister, and by extension, you." "Well, thank you for everything." Emma's eyes were suspiciously bright. "I don't know how we'll ever repay you." "You don't. You just get better and make your sister smile like she used to." Victor glanced at Amelia. "That's payment enough." They had 20 minutes before Emma would be taken to surgery. The three of them talked about nothing important. Emma's plans to travel once she recovered, the terrible hospital food, the cute resident who'd checked her vitals that morning. Normal conversation to mask the fear lurking beneath. When the surgical team arrived, Amelia's composure cracked. She hugged Emma fiercely, breathing in her sister's familiar scent, trying not to think about all the things that could go wrong. "I love you," Amelia whispered. "So much. You fight, okay? You fight and you come back to me." "Always," Emma promised. "We're not done yet, Mia. Not even close." Then she was being wheeled away and Amelia stood in the hallway watching until the doors swung shut, taking her sister into the unknown. Victor's arm came around her shoulders, solid and grounding. "Come on, we'll wait together." The surgery was scheduled to take 4 hours. Victor led her to a private waiting room he'd somehow arranged. Comfortable furniture, coffee service, windows overlooking the city instead of sterile walls. He settled them on a couch and pulled her against his side, his presence anchoring her while time crawled by. 2 hours in, Victor's phone rang. He glanced at the screen and his expression went carefully blank. The look Amelia had learned meant serious business. "I need to take this," he said quietly. "I'll be right outside." She nodded, watching him step into the hallway. Through the glass door she could see him pacing, his voice too low to hear but his body language tense. Something was wrong. When he returned 15 minutes later, his expression was controlled but storm clouds lurked in his eyes. "What happened?" Amelia asked. "Nothing for you to worry about right now. Focus on Emma." "Victor." She caught his hand. "Don't shut me out. Not today." He studied her face, then nodded slowly. "There's been a complication. Not with Emma. With business. Someone made a move while I was here, thinking I'd be distracted. Ice slid down Amelia's spine. What kind of move? An attempt to seize one of my primary operations, coordinated, professional. They're testing whether I've gone soft, whether protecting you has made me weak. His jaw tightened. They chose poorly. What are you going to do? Handle it, swiftly and completely. He cupped her face, his touch gentle despite the violence promised in his words. But I won't leave you, not until Emma is out of surgery and you know she's safe. Victor, if this is important, you're more important. Emma is more important. His voice was absolute. My empire can wait 3 hours. You can't. The declaration should have worried her, the idea that he'd put her above his carefully built kingdom. Instead, it filled her chest with warmth that spread through her entire body. Thank you, she whispered. They settled back to wait, but the tension never fully left Victor's shoulders. His phone buzzed constantly with updates he answered in terse sentences. Amelia could feel the controlled violence simmering beneath his calm exterior, could sense the part of him that wanted to be elsewhere, dealing with threats. But he stayed. For her. Despite everything pulling at him, he stayed. 3.5 hours into surgery, Doctor. Reeves appeared in the doorway, still in surgical scrubs. Amelia's heart lurched, every worst-case scenario flooding her mind. She's fine, Dr. Reeves said immediately, and Amelia's knees went weak with relief. Better than fine. The surgery went perfectly. The kidney is functioning beautifully. All vitals are stable. She'll be in recovery for a few hours, but you can see her soon. Amelia burst into tears. All the fear and anxiety and desperate hope of the past week came crashing out in great, gasping sobs. Victor pulled her against him, his arms iron-strong around her while she shook apart. Thank you, she managed to choke out to Dr. Reeves. Thank you so much. She's a fighter, and she has excellent support. The doctor smiled at Victor. The arrangements you made for her recovery room and ongoing care are exceptional. She'll have everything she needs. After the doctor left, Amelia clung to Victor, crying into his chest while relief and gratitude overwhelmed her. His hand stroked her back, his voice a low murmur of comfort. She's okay, he kept saying. She's going to be okay. You did it, Amelia. You kept her safe all these years, and now she's going to be fine. We did it, Amelia corrected, pulling back to look at him through tear-blurred eyes. I couldn't have done this without you, without everything you gave us. Then we're even. Because I couldn't have done any of this without you. He kissed her forehead. You've given me something I didn't know I was missing, purpose beyond power, reason beyond empire. Before Amelia could respond, his phone rang again, the same insistent pattern from earlier. Victor's expression hardened. I need to go, he said, frustration clear in his voice. This can't wait any longer, but Dmitri will stay with you until Emma wakes up. He'll take you to see her. Stay as long as you need. Go, Amelia said, understanding even though she hated it. Handle what you need to handle. I'll be fine. I'll be back before evening, I promise. He kissed her hard and fast, then was gone, moving with lethal purpose. Dmitri appeared moments later, the massive, scarred man from Victor's war room. Up close, he was even more intimidating, but his voice was gentle when he spoke. Miss Carter, I'm to stay with you and ensure you have everything you need. Thank you, Dmitri. They waited another hour before a nurse came to take Amelia to recovery. Emma lay in a private room that looked more like a hotel suite than a hospital, already awake and groggy, but smiling. Mia, she slurred, still foggy from anesthesia. I'm okay. I'm really okay. Amelia collapsed into the chair beside the bed, gripping Emma's hand like a lifeline. You are. You're perfect. How do you feel? Like I got hit by a truck, but in a good way? Emma's laugh was weak but genuine. Where's Victor? I wanted to thank him. He had to handle something urgent. He'll be back later. He's important, isn't he? Like, really important. I could tell by the way people moved around him here, the way they deferred. Emma's eyes, though unfocused, were knowing. What does he really do, Mia? Amelia hesitated. They'd agreed to wait until Emma was stronger for this conversation. But looking at her sister's face, still pale but determined, she realized Emma deserved the truth. He's powerful, Amelia said carefully. He runs businesses, some legitimate, some not. He's the kind of man who makes things happen, who controls significant parts of the city, and he's dangerous when he needs to be. Criminal, Emma stated. Not a question. Yes. Emma was quiet for a long moment, processing. Then, but he saved your life. And mine. And he makes you happy. I can see it in your face. You're different with him. Lighter. I am, Amelia admitted. He's complicated, Em. His world is dark, and there are things about it I'll probably never fully understand or accept. But he's also protective and thoughtful, and he sees me in ways no one else ever has. Then that's enough. Emma squeezed her hand weakly. Life's too short to judge how happiness finds us. If he treats you well and keeps you safe, that matters more than anything else. The acceptance brought fresh tears to Amelia's eyes. I love you. You know that? I know. I love you too. Emma's eyes were already drifting closed again. Stay with me? Always. Amelia sat with Emma while her sister dozed, watching the monitors that showed her vital signs strong and steady. The kidney was working. Emma was healing. After years of fear and struggle, they'd made it to the other side. She must have dozed herself because she woke to Victor's hand on her shoulder, his voice low in the dim room. How is she? Perfect. Sleeping well. Amelia stood and let him pull her into his arms, breathing in his familiar scent. He smelled like winter air and something darker, smoke maybe, or danger. How did your business go? Handled, completely and permanently. His voice carried that edge of cold satisfaction she recognized. The people who thought to challenge me have been reminded why that's a poor choice. She should ask for details. Should want to know what he'd done, who he'd hurt. But standing in Emma's recovery room with her sister breathing steadily nearby, Amelia found she didn't care. Victor had protected his empire so he could continue protecting them. That was enough. Take me home, she said quietly. Dmitri can stay with Emma. I need to be with you. Something fierce flashed in Victor's eyes. He arranged everything with quiet efficiency. Dmitri posted outside Emma's room, nurses with instructions to call immediately if anything changed, security protocols Amelia didn't fully understand but trusted were necessary. Then he drove her back to the estate through snow that had started falling again, soft and gentle this time. Inside, Eleanor had left dinner warming in the kitchen, but neither of them had appetite for food. Instead, Victor led Amelia upstairs to his room and undressed her slowly, reverently, his hands cataloging every curve like he was memorizing her. When they came together, it was different than before. Slower, deeper, weighted with emotion neither had words for yet. Afterward, wrapped in his arms with firelight dancing across the ceiling, Amelia felt something settle in her chest. Peace. For the first time in years, genuine peace. I have something for you, Victor said, reaching for the nightstand. He pulled out a small velvet box. Amelia's breath caught. Victor? It's not what you think. Or maybe it is, just not yet. He opened the box to reveal a key. Different from the house key he'd already given her, this one platinum and clearly expensive. This opens a safety deposit box downtown. Inside is everything you'd need if something ever happened to me. Money, documents, contacts, protection. Her throat went tight. Nothing's going to happen to you. I live a dangerous life, Amelia. I have enemies. There's always risk. His expression was serious. I need to know that if the worst happens, you and Emma will be protected. This box contains enough resources to disappear if necessary, to start over somewhere safe. Promise me you'll use it if you need to. The thought of losing him, of going back to a world without his fierce protection and unexpected tenderness, made her chest ache. I promise. But you promise me something too. You'll be careful. You'll come home to me. Always. He kissed her softly. You've given me something to live for beyond the empire. I'm not giving that up without one hell of a fight. They made love again, desperate and claiming, then fell asleep tangled together while snow continued to fall outside. The next week passed in a rhythm of hospital visits and quiet evenings. Emma's recovery progressed beautifully. She was sitting up by day 3, walking the halls by day 5, joking with nurses by day 7. Color returned to her face, energy to her movements. The transformation was miraculous. Victor arranged for the penthouse apartment to be converted into a recovery suite, complete with a live-in nurse for Emma's first month home. He visited the hospital daily, bringing flowers and books, and engaging Emma in conversations that made her laugh, a sound Amelia hadn't heard enough of in recent years. Watching them together, seeing Victor gentle and patient with her sister, Amelia felt the last of her resistance crumble. This man who commanded criminal empire with ruthless efficiency was reading terrible romance novels aloud to Emma in dramatic voices, making her giggle until the nurse warned her not to strain her incision. On Emma's 10th day of recovery, Dr. Reeves cleared her for discharge. Victor insisted on handling the transport personally, carrying Emma to the car himself despite her protests that she could walk. "Humor me," he said. "I've gotten used to taking care of Carter women. It's become a habit." The penthouse was perfect, spacious but comfortable, with a bedroom suite for Emma that had every medical device she might need, and a view of the lake that made her gasp with delight. The nurse, a cheerful woman named Patricia, had already stocked the kitchen and prepared Emma's medication schedule. "This is too much," Emma said, tears streaming down her face. "All of this, it's too much." "It's exactly enough," Victor corrected. "You focus on healing. Everything else is handled." After getting Emma settled, Victor pulled Amelia into the hallway. "I need to tell you something," he said, his expression serious. "The people who challenged me last week, the situation is resolved, but it made me realize I need to make changes. To create distance between my legitimate businesses and the rest of it. To build something cleaner for our future." "Our future?" Amelia's heart stuttered. "Yes, our future." He took her hands in his. "I'm not walking away from everything. I can't. There are obligations, loyalties that run deep. But I can restructure, create barriers, ensure that when we build a life together, it's not constantly threatened by the darkness." "You do that? Change your entire empire?" "I'd do anything for you. I thought I'd made that clear." His smile was soft. "You make me want to be better, Amelia. Not perfect. I'll never be that. But better than I was. Better than my father. Worthy of what your sister said the other day." "What did she say?" "That I make you happy, that you're lighter with me." His thumbs stroked across her knuckles. "I want to keep earning that. Every single day." Amelia's vision blurred with tears. "I love you. I know it's fast and probably crazy, but I love you, Victor. Completely." The smile that broke across his face was pure joy. "I love you too. Have since that night in the blizzard when you looked at me like I was salvation instead of damnation. Maybe even before that." He kissed her then, tender and deep, and Amelia felt the final pieces of her heart click into place. This dangerous, complicated man was hers, and she was his. Despite everything, the violence, the empire, the darkness lurking at the edges, they'd found something real and precious and worth fighting for. They spent Christmas together 2 weeks later. Amelia, Victor, Emma, and Eleanor, who Victor insisted join them. The dining room that had felt cavernous and lonely was filled with laughter and warmth. Emma was growing stronger by the day, her color healthy, her energy returning. She and Eleanor bonded over cooking, spending hours in the kitchen creating elaborate meals while Victor watched with bemused affection. "This is what I wanted for this house," he told Amelia one evening as they watched Emma teach Eleanor a complicated recipe. "Life. Warmth. People who matter filling the spaces instead of just me rattling around alone." "You're not alone anymore," Amelia assured him. "You'll never be alone again." On New Year's Eve, Victor took Amelia back to the conservatory, his mother's sanctuary. Fresh snow covered the gardens outside, but inside was tropical warmth and blooming flowers. "I want to show you something," he said, leading her to a bench tucked among the orchids. "My mother used to bring me here when my father's lessons got too dark. She'd tell me that no matter how brutal the winter, spring always came. That beauty and growth were possible even in the harshest conditions." He knelt beside the bench and pulled out a small box, different from the safety deposit key box, this one older, more worn. "This was hers," he said, opening it to reveal a simple gold ring with a single diamond. "My father gave it to her when they were young, before everything got complicated, before power corrupted him and fear drove her. It represents what they could have been, what I want us to be." Amelia's breath stopped. "Victor, I'm not asking yet. Not officially. I know we need more time, that we're still learning each other." He took her hand. "But I'm promising you, Amelia Carter, that I will ask. When you're ready. When Emma is fully recovered and we've had time to build something solid, I'm promising you forever, in whatever form you'll accept it. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Yes. I haven't asked the question yet. Yes, anyway. She pulled him up and kissed him fiercely. Yes to forever. Yes to building a life together. Yes to all of it. The ring slid onto her finger like it was made for her. A promise, not yet official, but no less binding. They stood together among his mother's flowers while outside, fireworks began exploding across the city, Chicago celebrating the new year with light and sound. I want to do something, Victor said suddenly. Something good with the resources I have. Emma mentioned wanting to help other people waiting for transplants, people who can't afford treatment. She did? This afternoon. Said she wanted to pay it forward, to give others what she'd been given. His expression was thoughtful. What if we started a foundation? Anonymous, focused on medical expenses for people who fall through the cracks. We could use some of my wealth for something genuinely good. The idea was perfect. Emma would love that, and so would I. Then we'll do it. I'll have my lawyers draw up the paperwork next week. He pulled her closer, his arms wrapping around her as explosions of color painted the sky. This is just the beginning, you know. Us, the foundation, building something that matters. We're going to create something beautiful out of all this darkness. Standing in his arms, wearing his mother's ring, watching the city celebrate while Emma recovered safely nearby, Amelia believed him. They'd started in a blizzard, in the cold and dark, with death breathing down her neck. But they'd found warmth, found life, found love in the most unexpected place. Victor had been right that first night. He wasn't a good man. His empire was built on fear and violence, his power maintained through methods she'd probably never fully accept. But he was her man, and with her he was capable of extraordinary tenderness and devastating devotion. I love you, she whispered against his chest. My dangerous, complicated, surprisingly gentle man. I love you too, my brave, brilliant, unexpectedly fierce woman. He tilted her face up to his. Thank you for not running, for seeing past the empire to the man underneath, for giving me a reason to be better. Thank you for saving me. That night in the blizzard, and every day since. They kissed as the new year began, snow falling outside and warmth blazing inside. Two souls who'd found each other against all odds and refused to let go. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Victor's world would always carry shadows, and Amelia's conscience would always struggle with his methods. But they'd face it together, bound by a love forged in crisis and tempered by choice. Emma recovered fully, her new kidney functioning perfectly. The foundation was established by spring, quietly funding medical care for hundreds of people who'd been forgotten by the system. Victor restructured his empire, creating legal barriers between his legitimate and illegitimate operations, ensuring Amelia was protected from the worst of it. And on a warm evening in June, in the conservatory surrounded by his mother's flowers and their closest friends, Victor asked the question properly. Amelia said yes, again, still, always. And they built a life together that honored both the light and the dark. Because sometimes salvation came from unexpected places. Sometimes love bloomed in winter. Sometimes the most dangerous man in Chicago was exactly the hero you needed. And sometimes being saved from freezing to death was just the beginning of the story.